So the planets of Pyro are different from Stanton in the fact that they all have to deal with the Pyro star system being at the end of its life cycle, emitting huge amounts of solar flare radiation, and we have to consider, like, what is that actually doing to each planet? Naturally, Pyro 1, closest to the sun, is going to be the heaviest influence of the solar flare firing off. So how do those people live? But the people furthest away from the star on Pyro 6 are going to have the least amount of radiation, but it's also going to be super cold at the same time. How do those people live instead?
Everything is a lot more spread out. People aren't huddled into landing zones. They have the entirety of the system to roam across.
There are no central sources of power in the Pyro star system. It's all decentralized, and each outpost has its own different identity and what it means for you as a player. As you go to these different places, should you be aligned with one faction, you can visit these locations. Should you align with another faction, you can go to these other locations instead.
You've got a lot more to do there. So instead of going down, doing a mission, flying away again, you can go down, do a mission, do another mission, do a third mission, and then go to another outpost on the same planet and do some missions there. You have a much more involved experience.
So that's super important because of how big the system is. Because if you have to keep flying away with the fly times being significantly longer than Stanton, that's going to get really annoying really fast.
That, and I'm hoping that also, since he said you will do missions at one outpost before traveling to another outpost on the same planet, that we have different types of missions that involve, like, maybe the ground vehicles, maybe, more bunkers, other types of missions, not just space missions. At least that's what it sounded like.
Yep, they did say a lot more to do, so hopefully it's actually a lot and not just, like you said, 3 missions. I don't find that being a lot per area.
So let's look at some of the places you'll be visiting. So farmsteads are a small slice of life within the Pyro star system to get you introduced to what it's like to live there.
Landing complete.
There are places to gather harvestables, places to complete your missions, and ultimately your first introduction to how people live in the Pyro star system.
I wonder if all the people in the Pyro system are like Stanton and they stand on benches.
Is the closest thing to a home feeling I think you'll find in Pyro. You feel like there's a smaller community living here.
There's a lot more fields of crops, there's a lot more greenhouses.
Now, we saw that guy repairing it. I wonder if that's going to be some of the missions that we get to do, is repair the pipes. And, I mean, you do get to pick up harvestables. My problem with that is there's not really anything you do with harvestables. Sure, you can eat some of them, but the inventory system's pretty clunky, and even picking them is kind of annoying, and they don't really have any value. So I don't feel like there's much importance in farming at the moment.
I'm hoping that they will add the importance by creating that environment, and that maybe, those fruits are more valuable if you try to take them from Pyro 1 to Pyro 6, etc., since they all have different biomes. So there could be some value to them.
Or bring them all the way back to Stanton, an hour-and-a-half flight.
That's a bit far, but sure.
Tallest ones, we've got these like grub farm greenhouses, which are really cool as well. They tend to be in a lot more open, plain-like areas, big fields of crops around them.
There are going to be some goods that are only grown in Pyro because of its unique star system that can be shipped back to Stanton.
We have a whole bunch of new mission types.
So there we go. We will be able to ship them back. Don't know what their value is, which is really what matters. And I guess at this point, we need something to do with the money, too, because just getting another ship rental is, it's okay, but could be better.
That you'll be able to do that. Then they're more geared around repairing pieces of machinery. We have what we call charge drain technology coming over from Squadron, which enables you to transfer an electrical charge from one component to another. So you can jumpstart a generator, for example.
So you are the portable battery in this case.
Gathering type of missions, like going out into the field, collecting crops. There's a big focus on non-combat at a place like a farm.
Next, let's talk about scrapyards. Scrapyards are one of the few locations within the Pyro star system where you can actually service your ship that is not on space stations or LEOs.
We'll have more scrap in a scrapyard, which makes a lot of sense, but we've got the towering cranes with derelict spaceships in there, the skeletons of spaceships being pulled apart. And we've got these large landing pits in all the scrapyards that are unique to the scrapyards, which are the big sort of sunken pits for repairing, rearming, refueling. They kind of bring that kind of unique, okay, this is a scrapyard because I know that there's a landing pit here, and they're the only types of outposts that have those.
Landing complete.
I wonder if I can sell or buy scrap from a scrapyard, because they'll still need like Quantanium to refuel people's ships. So can I sell armaments here? I wonder.
I would assume that there's some sort of pieces of scrap that you can sell and buy there and maybe steal, although there's no crime stats, so you can just take whatever you want, I guess, if you have the capacity.
Here, you're able to interact with Chrysler services, refuel your ship, repair your ship, even rearm your ship as well. In addition to servicing your ship, you can also service the scrapyard itself. You've got to use your charge and drain tools to be able to repair pipes, repair canisters, any faults in machinery, etc.
The new mission type that we have is salvaging, but in first person. So you don't need to be in a ship. It will be something that you can do on foot. So salvaging all the various panels which have turned up at the...
I am really excited for this part because I don't have a salvage ship, but I think this is going to be somewhat more of a fun thing to do.
Yeah, for both salvage and mining, it feels like you need a ship. For mining, it's not quite the same because there's more crystals and diamonds that you can mine. But for hand salvaging, it's not good enough. You might as well get a vulture, but they're also, real money and expensive, or you have to earn the rental in game.
But it's still going to be nice to just try this out and see how efficient or inefficient it is. And it gives you something else to do if you don't have those kinds of ships. So I think it's a good starting point, even though it probably sucks in gameplay mode, but it's still something else to do.
It will definitely be nice to have something to actually do.
Another piece of non-combat gameplay at scrapyards might be repairing machinery. For example, if there's a broken piece of machinery, you will be able to find a working piece of machinery, rip components and fuses and parts out of that, apply it to the broken one, and make that run instead. But of course, you've broken the first machine by doing that.
Or just bring some extra fuses from Stanton and everything works.
The largest concentration of player activity is going to be happening at the trade posts. The trade posts are where the player is going to be dealing with trade and commodity, organizing themselves between different groups in order to purchase different food, water, ship weapons, ship components, armor, grenades, med pens, whatever, you name it, it can be found and sold here.
They focus quite heavily on hauling, delivery, and shuttling goods around.
Trader posts are organized by several different factions within the Pyro star system. At these different locations, you might find different inventory, different perks, different goods.
I'm questioning, since it's all transported there, is there a limited inventory? If X amount of people have actually purchased a certain item, are we out?
I think that's the case for everything. I do find it really annoying for trade when you're trying to buy gold and it's always sold out and you can't even do cargo missions or your own made up cargo mission because everything's sold out and you can't buy it here and go sell it somewhere else.
Yeah, the nice part is it looks like though in Pyro you can pretty much sell anything pretty much anywhere, so you might just get less for it or get attacked for it if it's the wrong faction, but at least it gives you an opportunity to be able to get rid of all the stuff that you collected.
I also think it'd be cool if I could donate resources to an area to make it look better and prettier and build it up a little bit. That'd be kind of cool.
Ooh, I like that idea. That would be so cool, especially on Pyro, all these ghetto looking outposts. You get to help them, give them materials and, I don't know, give them a water filtration system and, basic sanitary needs.
Yeah, and just help build them up. It'd kind of be cool, community.
You might visit locations such as Jackson Swap on Pyro 2 or Conard View on Pyro 6. Conard View is in a very cold location that's very inhospitable, but people still need to be able to service and trade and do things around this planet.
I really hope, because they have planets that are hot and cold, really hot and really cold, I hope armor comes more into play and is actually more useful. Because right now there's really no difference between the armors and no reason to have anything different.
As Conard View is sheltered within a crater, it is also a safer location away from other headhunter gangs nearby. Jackson Swamp is sheltered between these two different cliff buffs, offering them lots of protection. And through there, we went for a spaghetti western style main thoroughfare with lots of different landing pads around. And because it's well established, it's got some nice defensive measures so that it can't be immediately attacked by any rogue factions within Pyro.
We see injection swap, it's a hard environment that these people live in. It's not an easy living.
Visually, it echoes like the rest of the sort of art style that we call the sort of frontier art style.
If we look at the buildings, we see that there's a lot of stucco elements, there's a lot of makeshift little knickknacks that people have gathered from
So my question is, though, we have interstellar travel. You're making such a big point about how these people live and how difficult it is. But why do they choose to live there? Like, they can't all be outlaws and be shipped off to Pyro. Like, there's gotta be a reason that they want to be there. Don't just make it sound like they're there and they're such poor souls and they do the best that they can.
Yeah, considering every player can have a ship, wouldn't you rather live out of a ship than out of a mud house with no air conditioning? I mean, I guess maybe it has air conditioning, but they are saying it's like harsh conditions. So
Yeah.
it's something I've always been confused. Also, they're outlaws. Like, there should be some really nice areas and some rundown areas because, you know, outlaws or criminals do like to flaunt their money. They like to flaunt their stuff and how cool and, you know, everything they have.
It's a mixture of that hard scrabble life and people trying to make the best of what they have and repairing things over and over again and like replacing things that break, in complete opposition to things like the space stations and, you know, Microtech, which up to now has been this very corporate, lots of metal, lots of angles, lots of edges, lots of sci-fi. This is supposed to soften off all those corners.
You as a player can land whatever size ship you have, purchase whatever size ship components and ship weapons you might want to have. You can visit the local warehouse or order any potential things that you might need to have, commodities, food, etc. Where anybody needs to be able to get something, purchase it, collect it. This is where all the players are going to be collecting. But maybe you align yourself with headhunters and you visit locations like Gone of Steel and Golden Riviera. Gone of Steel is a smaller outlaw trade post perched in Pyro 4's massive crater. It's there as a stopgap between Pyro 3 and Pyro 6 because there is not much landmass around Pyro 5. Pyro 5 is a gas giant, and yet you need to have a midway drop-off to get from Pyro 3 over to Pyro 6 on the far side because Pyro's star system is far larger than Stanton.
And there it is. They say it's far larger. It being so huge, I feel like it's going to be a problem because an hour of warp time is, in my opinion, unacceptable. Like, that's as much time as I need to make dinner and eat it. Like, is this going to be a game where you can pretty much only play if you log in during work and you work from home and you start your spaceship journey somewhere and then after work you're still traveling there?
Yeah, the travel time definitely would need to be adjusted. That's just a massive system, which is cool and all, but I don't want to just spend my entire day of playing, traveling, looking into a warp tunnel. That's not really what I enjoy.
And imagine one bug and you have to start back in Stanton because you forgot to change your beds, or you just didn't have a chance to get to a bed to change your spawn location. And you have to come all the way back. It's like, oh man, that's too much. Like, for an average gamer session that's like an hour or two a day, that's a lot of not playing.
Yeah, I think that would be definitely too harsh. I can see, like, if you're traveling from Stanton to Pyro, that being a longer travel, but like within the Pyro system, I don't think like going from one planet to another should take hours or an hour. Like, anything over 5 minutes is already kind of very long for somebody that only has an hour to 2 hours a day to play.
Yeah, I would probably say they should reduce it so that your maximum travel time in Pyro is probably 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. If you're maybe 10 minutes all the way across, and then just reduce everything in Stanton because now you have more places to go. Actually, I think it'd be even better if they made it so that you can get jump drives that would actually make it like 10 minutes, like actually have a reason to upgrade your components on your ship, because a lot of the components don't seem to do anything.
Yeah, I think that might actually be a better approach. Like, okay, yeah, first time you're gonna waste your time, but then you're gonna be able to get whichever component. Maybe you can even buy it in Pyro. Make the drives, the shields, anything, the cooling more impactful by making it faster to get places.
Golden Riviera is one of those sleazy towns which is just full of seedy people, absolutely taken over by the headhunters. They've butchered everything, they've changed how they want things to work. Trade posts are possibly selling slave pods and find other illegal goods, but it's just a central hub of like sleaziness.
Don't judge them.
It is absolute chaos. Bits and bobs are laying around, things have rusted, and you will find mattresses of where people have been sleeping in the weirdest corners. We can see that the people that have been living in the space have really outlived this location a little bit.
We use a lot of more like fire and lots of spiked kind of like cladding and rusty metal elements just to give that kind of, I hesitate to say Mad Max, but kind of that more apocalyptic vibe, I suppose.
Jackson Swap, even though it is very improvised, it has a certain structure underneath it. And Golden Riviera, just this structure is nearly gone. It is really chaos, anarchy that this place really embodies.
The players coming to our locations should feel like they are encountering a whole new frontier where people feel a little bit on edge and they're curious about you, but they're also hesitant to meet you at the same time. There is no law, there is no jurisdiction, there is no protection. There is just you and people trying to get by and live their lives.